Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Hello students, I am Jitesh Gola and today we are going to start with Unit 6 of Class 11th Education, that is Indigenous Education in India. In this chapter, we shall discuss the early and indigenous system of education which exist in India. The term indigenous means which occurring naturally in particular place, or we can say the native one, the native system of that education which was already existing in India. So we are going to talk about the same. The Vedic education system, which include Gurukul, Pathshala and Parishad, along with their methods of teaching and subject taught etc. discussed in details. Second, we'll talk about the Buddhist system of education. The comparison of the two systems of education is discussed in this chapter. We are going to talk about. Then we'll also discuss here the Islamic system of education with Maktab and Madrasa institution of learning. Its comparison and contrast with the Vedic education is also explained in the same chapter. So this was the overview of the chapter that we have discussed here. Beside that, we are going to talk about the contribution of Christian missionaries to education and their contribution in the various other centers of learning under subheading as Assam, Mumbai, Calcutta, Madras also. All these things has been explained in the chapter. So now we are going to start with that. As we know, India has been well known for its spiritual and educational superiority in the world since ages. Modern world has benefited from the excellence of our ancestors. Here we talk about that education system which was introduced by the Britishers was not the first one. Before that only the previous or the indigenous education system was already prevailing in our country, and many other Western countries has got the benefit out of that, and still many of the foreigners are attracted towards that indigenous education system of our nation. The study of this chapter will help the student to familiarize himself or herself with the different system of education which existed in India in past. This knowledge of education will make us proud of our past and enable us to understand the system of education in past so that we can think about the present system and how much we have taken from our past to modify it in the present day. So, the first one we are going to begin with Vedic education. Vedas are the oldest literatures of the world. It is generally accepted that among the existing literature of the world, Vedas are the oldest one, and these Vedas basically belongs to our nation. The exact age of Vedas cannot be ascertained, but we feel proud that their place of origin is India, because through the studies and other sources anyhow we have got to know the particular age of the existence of these Vedas are not clear, but yes, their origin is very well found in India only. And mainly 4 Vedas are there: Rig Ved, Samved, Atharvaved and Yajurved. Vedas are full of knowledge and wisdom. In ancient times, Indians believed that every individual is indebted to the great rishis and saints and should repay by learning these. So these Vedas are providing the different sort of knowledge and as well as the wisdom through the experiences or through things mentioned in the same. That is why learning of Vedas was considered to be a matter of spiritual obligation. So as it has been mentioned that ancient time it was believed that every individual have to repay to their rishis or the saints. So knowledge of or the learning that they are going to get from these Vedas, the learning that they are going to get from these Vedas was a matter of spiritual obligation on them, just to repay to those rishis or the saints. In ancient India, religion was the foundation stone of all the activity. Means religion was taken as whether you are following the different rituals or the practices you are following, all were centered toward the different religions. The supremacy of Brahmins had overshadowed the Vedic system of education and the spirituality, and that is why it is also called Brahmanical system. So this Vedic system we were talking about, the main center were taken the Brahmins, those who were having the right to perform the different rituals and the practices related to the particular religion. Life was divided into 4 phases or the ashrams during the Vedic period. And how that division was done? First one, the brahmacharya. This first division where the person leads a bachelor life and spends time in studies. Students used to live in union with God, where they were able to connect, where they were able to form their connection with the God, where they were able to get connected directly with the God. This stage focused on education. So main purpose in brahmacharya stage was to give focus on education, to provide them knowledge, and included the practice of celibacy, and which included the practice of celibacy means to remain unmarried. The second stage was of grihast. During this period, after completing their studies, an individual got married and led a family life, fulfilling the responsibility of the family and also produced offspring. It means just involving in the grihast system, where they are getting the responsibility of starting their own family, and then the next generation is also going to be grown up. Then after that, the third stage if we talk about, that is going to be vanprastha. After fulfilling all the duties as father and husband, one led the life of hermit, spending time in meditation. These two, this word particular one, prastha, means taken from 2 words, moving towards the village, where they are moving toward the forest, means the area where they would be involved in doing the meditation or concentration. They are concentrating on God, achieving or maintaining the relation with the God. Fourth one is sannyasa. At the time when one became too old, one detached himself from the world. He became free from emotional attachment, became an ascetic, and devoted his times in prayer and meditation. This is the fourth stage when the person became old. During this ancient period, becoming one with God was the ultimate aim of every individual. Means finally, this was the stage where the people would like to get connected with the God, where they want to mixed with the, means they want their soul must reach to the God. So these phases, as we have discussed above, out of that the first phase of life was dedicated to studies, education only. Vedas were the subject matter of study during those ancient days, and these Vedas, all the 4 Vedas that we have taken, which were Rig Ved, Samved, Ajurved, Rigved, Samved, Atharved or Yajurved. These 4 Vedas were taken as a subject matter for teaching students. A student learned the correct pronunciation of the Vedic verses and also learned their meanings. So, what they were doing, the teachings were based on these Vedas, where they were learning to pronounce these verses, as well as they were also getting to know about their meaning and how they were implementing these in their practical life. Other science like astronomy, etymology, prosody and grammar were also taught to the students. Teachers were mostly Brahmins. In ancient time, you must be knowing that teaching was just connected directly with those Brahmins only. And during the Vedic period, learning was a religious obligation. It was taken as a part of particular religious practices. There were 3 institutes of learning during the Vedic period. These were as under. So, these institutes where the learning was provided to the children. First, Gurukul was there, Pathshalas and the Parishads. So, these 3 things you can see here, that image has been given how the Guru is sitting here at little bit top area at higher place, and the other 4 pupils are, or the students are sitting below the place. Clear? And this was the way that you might have seen in different sort of mythological epics, if we talk about like Ramayana or Mahabharata, that how the children used to go to get the knowledge from their gurus. So that was the image of the Gurukul. Here they have defined Gurukul. During Vedic period in India, religion was the main focus of all activities. Means whatever the things were associated, the practices were prevailing, mainly were related to these religion. Philosophy, education, law, morality, governance were associated with religion only. Generally, the child had its early education at home and stayed with parents. So, this is very common that in earlier stage, the children used to stay with their parents, and where from there they were getting their basic or the early education. When one was going for formal education, a ritual was to be performed. So, when they were moving out from their house for the formal education, particular rituals were performed, and these rituals are also related to the religion. It was known as Upanyan. Initiation ceremony for formal education means starting of formal education when you are going to move away from your home. Upanyan was held for the Brahmins at the age of 8, for the Kshatriyas at the age of 11 and Vaishyas at the age of 12. So, here we can see the 3 main caste group has been mentioned here, and for them it was considered to get the education in ancient time. It was not considered for the 4th class, that were Shudras. Brahmins, for them the age was 8 years. For Kshatriyas they have given, and the Vaishyas also they have given the particular age when they are going to perform with this Upanyan activity or the ritual. At the initiation ceremony, the boy told that he was a brahmachari and therefore he should develop himself continuously till he was able to retain his identity with Brahma throughout life. So, this was the thing when the ceremony used to be started. This thing was told to the boy, and especially in that time period, the girls were not allowed to go for any sort of education, the formal education. So, main focus was on boys only, and they were told that they have to lead the life of brahmachari only. And through the education, they are going to get to know about the Brahma, the God, and which will going to be connected with those children throughout their life. There were 3 means of realization of Brahma, which were through knowledge, through their action and through their devotions. The knowledge that they are going to attain through Guru in their Gurukul, and the action, the involvement in the different activities and devotion towards the God or their Guru. Then the another process was that boy had to leave his home for undergoing Upanyan and entered the Guru's home or ashram. At that time, the separate areas were given for these Gurukuls or the ashrams were placed. Guru used to give his students free education, food and accommodation. Accommodation means place to live. So these few things were provided to these pupils or students by their gurus. Students in the Gurukul were required to do the household work, because when they were living with their gurus in their ashrams, they used to get involved in all sort of household activities, whether it is cleaning the house, cooking the food, getting the woods from the forest. All these kinds of activities were the part of their learning, were the part of their education. Collecting wood and take care of the cattle of the Guru. The Guru was required to treat his pupil, here the student or the disciple, as his own son. They were not allowed to do any discrimination. Means all were treated equally, whether they were belonging to high class or rich class people or they were belonging to poor people. All were having, there was no discrimination on the basis of their status, their economical status. Even no discrimination was taking place based on their own son or the son of the others. All were treated equally and the equal sort of importance was given to all. Like what we have today, there was no prescribed syllabus that nowadays we can say that particular curriculum is there. So that kind of thing was missing in the ancient time. No specified place was there for such sort of teachings. No printed books, only oral education was the main medium of knowledge, providing the knowledge. No specified time was there that for how long a child is going to be there in the ashram. It used to be depend on their capability for how long they are going to take to learn the teachings from the gurus. So these were the very different things that we can compare with today's time, that nowadays we have a appropriate curriculum that we need to follow for that particular class, and then beside that we have the institution or the schools where we are getting the formal education. Printed books are there according to the syllabus, and the specified time is also given for getting the education. But in that time period they used to live along with their guru, so there was no such sort of time fixed for getting the knowledge from their teacher. The system of education where a student lived with his teacher, that is guru, in the teacher's or the guru's house while doing the household work and acquiring the education also, acquiring the knowledge also, was known as the Gurukul system of education. So where the guru, the teacher, was providing them free education that we have discussed, food as well as the accommodation was provided to them, the place to live with them. Beside Gurukul, now we are going to discuss about the another place of teaching, that was Pathshala. With the passage of time, the number of disciples of a guru became his status symbol. Means if the guru, the teacher, used to have more pupils or the disciples, they were treated as the more better than the other gurus. Therefore, Guru started admitting more and more students into his family, which gradually led to a system of education known as Pathshala. Earlier, the limited number of children used to go to Gurukul to get the education, but slowly and gradually, when their number started increasing, they were considered as the part of Pathshala. In this system of education, a separate shed was constructed where formal classes were conducted to impart education to the student. Means separation was done. Under that shed, all the children used to sit and then they used to get the knowledge from their teacher. This method of teaching were based on the principles of human psychology. So here if we talk about this method was based on the principle of human psychology, means learning about their human behavior, their attitude, their capability as well as their potential even. The Guru gave oral instructions to his pupil. In Gurukul also, even in the Pathshalas, only the oral instructions were given, not in the written form. And the stress was on alphabet and the syllables, accent and euphonic combination. So all these things were there because the way they were pronouncing the thing, the way they are going to use the different alphabets, that was the main focus of the teaching. When the Guru was satisfied with the pronunciation, that is Shruti of the pupil, he was allowed to go ahead for the meditation. The next stage was meditation after learning to know about the pronunciation of the things. So it was the teacher who used to decide about a child or about a student or his pupil that who has attained or cleared the stage 1 now would move to the second one for the meditation. In the Vedic period, the Guru was highly respected by all. People gave him regular gifts. Families used to give him gifts like kettles. The kings and rich men gave him land and property as a gift because they were not charging any sort of, no charging of fixed fee was there. Clear? Only the things were there that with their happiness, whatever the people were supposed to give, they were giving, like different sort of gifts in the form of cattle or land or property. As per their capability, they were providing to the teachers or gurus. There was no system of teacher training, but a person with a good character and high education used to become a teacher. So the quality to become the teachers were good character they must have, as well as the knowledge with high education. Teachers were held in the highest esteem in ancient time, the full respect, and they were considered as of dignity. A guru was a man who was fluent, had presence of mind along with the good sense of wit. So all these were the characteristics which were present in any of the teacher in ancient time. The teacher used to solve the problems of the people and kings and give explanation to the questions regarding the human life, their existence of God, and even the life after death. So they were considered as the one who is having all sort of knowledge regarding all the things related to humanity or the God. Teaching profession was considered the noblest profession and the highest among all the profession, because nowadays if we compare it today's profession, today's time, teaching is not that much respectful, but in earlier time it was taken as or considered as the most respected profession of the time. The pupils or the disciples virtually worshipped their gurus like God. So what is the status of God nowadays? That same status they used to give to their teacher or the gurus. The teacher also enjoyed the highest position in the society, and basically most of the teacher, as we have already discussed, they belongs to Brahmins, and they were considered those who are having the authority to impart the knowledge to the other. The third kind of education, formal education system was Parishad. Parishad means council or assembly. In the Upanishad, it is mentioned as the assembly of learned and wise persons, where great problems relating to philosophy were discussed, debated and solved. So here you can see the example, the image has been shown where the different scholars are sitting and the debate is going on. The debate sort of thing is going on. They also meant place where learned and wise Brahmins lives in large number. Means all the wise scholars used to live there in large number together. In a nutshell, we can say it was a place of higher learning where mature, educated people of different thoughts used to have the discussion and debate. Because when they used to do the discussion or debate over the different issues, they were getting the answers of the different questions related to the life or related to the humans, God, as well as even the questions related to life after death. And their day-to-day problems also, the issues related to day-to-day problem also, they were doing the discussion over, and the solution they were getting out of the same. The attitude of the Parishad was always liberal, means no restrictions were there, it was free. As the learned persons from the different charans, that is the school of thoughts, lived together and searched answer to the philosophical problems of the world. So how it was framed that Parishad was a place where the scholars from the different or the learners from the learned persons from the different areas were coming together and living, and for what? Just to get the answers of the other philosophical questions related to the world. Parishads were a very special feature which was found only in India. Nowhere else we have seen the traces of these parishads. These were found only in India. While in other parts of the world, the learned were divided among themselves based on their own philosophies. Means their ways of thoughts, school of thoughts, they were already divided. In India, the people of different thoughts engaged in arguments and tried to win each other. And as compared to the other parts, what was the situation in India? In India, these scholars, those who were belonging to different, those who were having the faith in the different thoughts or different ideas, they were engaged in the different kinds of argument and they tried to compete with each other. The competition used to be there, and that used to be the healthy competition, where they used to do the argument, where they used to do the discussion with each other. And the development of divergent philosophical thoughts, here we can say which coexist in India, is the result of this system only, where the different kinds of ideas were getting interaction of learned people. Interaction of learned people was helping them to interact with each other and helping them to get the best out of their discussion. This coexistence in diversity was one of the main principle or the feature of Indian society. So here we have discussed the topic 1 of this unit 6 of class 11th education. Now we are going to take the question answers based on the same.